What about more stories about what's possible? This is number 6 in my series on making a mythology for our time, and we're looking at how fiction, especially speculative fiction, might be a useful source of guiding and inspiring stories. The stories don't have to be absolutely true in some literal sense to carry important truths for living, leading, being with each other, relationships, governance, you name it. So it's often been the case that in speculative fiction and science fiction in particular, somebody imagines something that later learns out to be true. And of course, sometimes it's disastrous, but I want to focus on when that really works, when it brings something new into the world. So Gene Roddenberry fought hard to have as diverse a bridge crew in the original Star Trek series as he could. And one of the people on that crew, Uhura, a black woman, inspired another black woman, Mae Jemison, to become an astronaut. And she also got to got to appear briefly in an episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation too, which was really cool. And she's talked about this and written about it as well. So it matters when we can imagine how things should be. And for me, a lot of my work has been motivated by what I saw growing up when I was reading speculative fiction, science fiction, fantasy, you name it. And I was presented with possibilities of how the world could be. You know, why can't we have a society that isn't racist, that isn't sexist, that's not homophobic, that's not ableist? Why can't we? I'm convinced that we can. There are powerful obstacles, but the obstacles all come from powerful people who keep turning us against each other. If we were to wake up, things would be very different because it's the people who have the power. So a couple of examples from my own fiction. In one case, it has to do with leadership, and in my fiction, and I'm thinking particularly of the Lamplighter trilogy, but it's true of all the Assembling Terrania stories. So most of the key organizations, most of the key institutions are not run by white men. Every now and then, but they're not. Why? Because that's not how the world looks. That's something that we should take joy in, that all kinds of people can do all kinds of different things. If you're a white man or a woman and you're insecure about the idea of women, people of color, whoever, running an organization, you need to look at that. That's your problem. That's something that you need to grow beyond. And I think images of how things could be help us do that. So another example, there's an organization in my fiction called Aurea. That's their acronym. And Aurea comes from the name of a Gnostic goddess who, I mentioned this in my video series on Gnosticism for today. She came along once and Noah was building his ark, but his first ark, but he wouldn't let women aboard. So Aurea, being powerful, blew her hot breath on it and burned it down, forcing Noah to rebuild the ark, and this time it was more inclusive. So the organization Aurea in my fiction looks out for technical innovations that could be harmful to the public, slows them down, not prevents them, slows them down, and forces them to collaborate with the public and with other key sectors of society to make sure these things are safe. So 60, 70 years from now, there's going to be founded an organization that won't let something like AI just get dumped on the market, thousands of people thrown out of their jobs, and in many cases to no good purpose, because AI doesn't really work that well right now. You can make screwy pictures with it, you can look things up with it, but even when I've used it for that, it's usually wrong. This is what we are throwing people out of work for. So Aurea prevents that. And there's, it's not a key part of the series, but it shows up now and then. And there's a character who's in more than one book and story who is the founder of Aurea, and that would be the physician Lucille Joe. She's the founder. And so she's keeping people safe against that kind of thing. If we can imagine things different, That's the first step in making them different.